Last time I told you about the phone call that completely changed everything. My friend casually told me that he just moved to Norway while I was here having a complete mental breakdown because of losing my apartment. But here's what I didn't tell you. How we went from our friends crazy to maybe we're the crazy ones for staying. This is the story of how a house crisis became a life upgrade. So that I was completely obsessed with this Norway idea while my wife was still thinking on our immediate house crisis situation. You know that feeling when you get an idea stuck in your head and you can't think in anything else? That was me. So the first thing I did was to call our friend back, and this time to interrogate him. I had a million questions and I wanted answers. How much does rent cost? Is it easy to find a job? Do you actually need a car to move around? What about the language? And does it actually get that cold in there? And this guy, Daniel, bless him, he didn't give us just answers. He became our Norwegian research center. Every day he sent us something new. Grocery store flyers so we can see the food prices. House listings so we can see the rent prices. Job market listings. He even sent us his electric bill so we can actually see the correct numbers instead of just believing in his word. But then he decided to send the good stuff. The stuff he knew it would hook me. Photos of electronic stores with prices that made my eyes light up. Cars that you only see in movies. And yes, I'll admit it, even found what we call a nerd shop with things that I love, like collectibles and card games. My wife still rolls her eyes over that one. For weeks we talked with him like it was our daily routine. We came back from work, we arrived home. While we were doing dinner, we were making a video call with Daniel. He'd walk us through his day. He showed us his neighborhood, he went grocery shopping with us, he even made a tour with us on the bus to show us how long it was and the quality of the trip and the noise that you catch on the bus. My wife would ask the practical questions. How is the healthcare system there? Do you feel safe walking alone at night in the street? How do you handle not speaking the language? Meanwhile, I'm here asking if they have good internet speeds and what's the quality of the beer around. But here's the thing. While I was getting more and more excited about this possibility, my wife was still with her foot on the ground. She would hang up these calls and immediately change to Portugal mode, calling our lawyer, looking for new apartments, basically facing the actual problem that we were dealing with. For her, we were still dreaming. Then, about 3 weeks in this daily research routine, our lawyer called with news. Remember that eviction letter that started this whole thing? Turns out, legally, our landlord couldn't actually kick us out. Our rental contract had just automatically renewed for 3 more years, and apparently Portuguese law was on our side. I should have been relieved, right? Like 3 more years to figure this out. But for me, I felt like deflated. Like someone had just told me that the emergency was gone, but my mind was already working on the solution. My wife, though, she was visibly more relaxed for the first time in weeks. The immediate panic was gone. She could finally breathe again. And that's when something interesting happened. With the pressure off, she actually started to participate in the Norway conversations instead of just being present, listening with her mind elsewhere. It took 2 weeks after the legal news for the real conversation to happen. We were having dinner probably after another call with Daniel when my wife said something that surprised me. You know, even if we stay here for 3 more years, we're just delaying the inevitable, aren't we? That's when it clicked for both of us. Portugal wasn't offering us a future, it was offering us survival. We could afford to live, but we couldn't afford to actually have a life. And if you're watching this thinking, I know that feeling, well, you're not alone. Sometimes we get so focused on fixing our bad situations that we never ask, what if the solution isn't fixing it, but change it entirely? We started having different conversations after that. Instead of asking, should we move to Norway, we start asking, what can we do to actually move to Norway? Instead of treating this like an escape plan, we started treating this like an actual plan. Once we finally made the mental shift, everything changed. Our friend's information wasn't just information. We started treating it like intel. We started taking notes.
I started taking notes.
We created a shared document with cost comparisons.
I created
Job market research, visa requirements. My wife started asking Daniel more serious questions. What documents did you need to have your residence permit? How long did it take? What would you do different if you started all over again? And I started to think beyond the immediate move. If we're going to do this, we're going to do this the right way. We're going to be smart about it. We need to save money, research houses, understand the job market, even start to learn basic Norwegian. And then there was this one afternoon. I remember it clearly because we were on vacations in Portugal, visiting a small waterfall, and my wife stopped in the middle of the way there, and she looked at me and said, "We are really going to do this, aren't we?" And then somewhere along the way, without either of us deciding, we had already decided. Every conversation that we were having was about when and how, not if. Every decision that we were making was being filtered by this question: will this help us get to Norway? We stopped searching at apartments in Portugal. We started being more careful with money, trying to save every single euro that we could. We even start saying no to social plans. So if any of you are watching this and thinking, oh, that's why I didn't come. Yeah, but here's the thing about making decisions this big. Once you cross the mental line from maybe to definitely, then you start to realize that you have no idea what you're doing. At this moment, both of us knew that we wanted to move to Norway, but we had no clue how to even start to do it. How do you quit your job without having a new one in sight? How do you sell all your stuff without having a place to keep the ones that you want to keep? How do you say goodbye to family and friends without knowing the next time you are going to see them? And most importantly, how do you pack your whole life and a very confused dog and you trust that you're making the right choice? But here's where it gets very complicated. We don't trust airlines with Mike. We heard every story. Dogs carried in cargo holds, temperature problems, lost pets. But our car was tiny. So how do you drive from Portugal to Norway with all your life and a very confused dog in a small car that barely fits two persons comfortably? Next time I walk you through the actual planning phase. The spreadsheets.
that I did.
The panic attacks, the family and friends reaction, and the moment we realize that we crossed the point with no return. Plus, I'll tell you about the transportation dilemma that almost derailed our whole trip. But before I go, I want to say something to anyone who is watching that it is facing their own impossible situation right now. 2 years ago, if someone had told me that I was going to move to Norway, I would be laughing in their faces. We were just regular people trying to solve a housing problem. We didn't have any special skills, we didn't have any type of connections, we didn't have a pile of money. We just had each other and Mike and the willingness to ask, what if there's a completely different way to deal with this situation? If you're following along with this story, make sure you subscribe because things are about to get very real and very fast. And if you ever made a big life decision that felt completely logical and completely insane at the same time, just tell me in the comments down below so I know that I'm not alone. Thank you all and see you on the next video when we go from dreamers to planners and realize that planning a move to another country is not as simple as it looks like.
Não ferra. Que lindo. Yeah. Como é que o astronauta?